Hi, welcome to my channel. Josie here, and this is Josie. I'm glad to have you back here, and today I'm going to show you how I created this t-shirt using my Cricut and using the new feature in Cricut, that's the offset feature. And if that's something you're interested in, please stay tuned. I've recorded a video before where I showed, when I just picked up my Cricut, where I showed how I made a t-shirt, but by then I used a flat iron, and I've since invested in an easy press, and I'm going to show you the entire process of creating this and also how I use my easy press. So this is my inspiration, which I got from Cricut Access. Right now I'm using my free 1 month access upon buying your machine. I never used it then because I was busy to use it. My inspiration was Hope Always, but I found that the words they used, the font was a bit boxy. So I decided to reuse the same exact words but use other fonts that are available with Cricut Access because I have the free membership. And there I go, typed in the word hope in capital letters and also the word always because I still wanted to use the same words. I think we need that reminder to hope for something better at this season that we are all going through. And for hope, I decided to go with a font called U Gothic semi-bold, and it's accessible. I don't think it's a free font. It's accessible if you have Cricut Access. So I decided to use that font and I liked how it came out. It was less boxy or less square. The other one was more squared. It wasn't as appealing. I didn't want to put that on my t-shirt. So here I go with the U Gothic feature. It might not look any different, but still I found it more appealing and looked better. Yeah, as you can tell, it's less boxy. Then for always, I went with one that could be a joint tab, that would be a joint tab really, and I went with a font called Double Whipped. It's also accessible under Cricut Access. So if you don't have their membership, you can't easily access this, but honestly I think you can get these fonts from somewhere else and upload them into your design space, so you can always find one. So my computer wasn't working as fast, so as you can tell, it comes out and it's not joint tab. So I had to drag it and get it all together. I had to do a lot of pulling it together. I just fastened it, skipped it because it took a while until I was happy with whatever I got. And there we go. And here the key word I wanted to use the offset feature with was the word hope. I didn't want to use it with always because I wanted always to be a small word. So with this shows you the welding feature under offset. If you go to weld, the offset creates individual letters, as you can tell. So it's important. Most times it comes by default clicked at welding that the offset prints as one word or cuts as one word, as you can tell. And also you have a feature to either get the offset more boxy or squared, or you get more rounded corners, and I can imagine we might likely go for the rounded corners. And around there on the cursor, I don't know what to call it, on that line, you can try and see which size you're happy with. Then I went ahead and pressed apply, and I got my offset the way I wanted it, and there is our offset. You can tell it's created in the gray color there. And then I go ahead and do what? And group the words, because if I don't group them, they will shift, as I'm going to show you what would happen if I hadn't grouped them. That shows you they've been grouped, but I'm going to ungroup them for the purpose of a beginner who might want to see whatever the grouping does. So that's me. If I decided not to group them, I wouldn't move them as one single word. It would come into two different words, and that would disturb me with how actually I want them to lie and how I want them to appear. So we go ahead and group them together. And that's our word hope sorted. And then always, I wanted always to stand out as a small word really underneath hope. That hope is the key word, then always, and always is not going to use any offset. It will appear just as it is. Yeah. Go ahead and just put it in a way I would want it to appear on my t-shirt. Yeah, I was happy with the way they looked there. So I'm going to go ahead and change the colors and choose the colors I want to work with. And I wanted the offset to come out in gold. I know this is not the exact gold I had for my vinyl. And I also wanted the word always to come out in gold. And then I was going to leave the printed hope, which is not the offset, in black. And I thought this would really look good on my gray background. And I also had to look at the colors of vinyl I had to see which one could match better. And I saw this matched really well together. So I play around to see whatever I'm happy with. And here what I'm going to do, I'm going to weld the words, because if you don't weld them together, they'll print as individual letters, not as one word, printing it in a joint up way, if you know what I mean. Because if I didn't weld them, you'd see the cut at the L and then to the Y. So I'm going to go ahead and group all the two words together. That's what I'm doing there. So with that, if I'm moving it anywhere, they're moving in one piece as opposed to two words. So here we're going to try a template to gauge how much we want it to cover, how it will look on our t-shirt. This is just for you to gauge and see how it will look if you want it smaller or bigger. So I looked for shirts in the search button, and then I went with just a crew neck shirt, a rounded neck shirt. And then I'm going to try to size up the word and see, because unless you do that, unless you know the measurements you're working with, you could go just straight away, enter the measurements of the words, how you want them to fit on the shirt. But I went ahead and just chose a size small on a t-shirt and just have a gauge and see how it might likely look on my t-shirt, what I'm happy with. So once I'm done with that, I know it will be printing out in that exact size that I'm after. So that's what I'm trying to do with this, and those pictures just help you gauge. They don't do anything. So I went to make. And now because I'm working with heat transfer vinyl, which is also called iron-on vinyl, also HTV, I need to mirror my images. You don't mirror those images, they won't be usable, or you won't be able to read the words. That's one thing that is important to remember. I made enough mistakes where I've forgotten to mirror the images and I've cut out the vinyl. It has been wasted because you can't use it unless you mirror it, because of the way we need to iron it onto the t-shirt. It must be mirrored. So we are ready to make our first ones. I'll show you what happens there. In hindsight, I should have edited and pushed the word always at the bottom, but the word always, as you can tell, is so close to the O, so I had to play around with cutting the vinyl. So here we are, loading our mat with our gold vinyl is what is going to print first. I tried to make that in time lapse, make it super fast and that you don't have to follow. It takes a bit of a while, but it's an interesting feature to watch doing. So I couldn't take this out of the video because it's just therapeutic to watch, and I also like the sound it makes. So I loaded the mat for our black one after. There is our black. It's also printing the hope. Yeah, I try to make it fast so we can sit and watch the entire process. Yeah, and there we're done with printing. We did the vinyl. It's actually therapeutic watching the weeding process. I enjoy doing it and I enjoy watching it. It's interesting, but you have to be extra careful. As you can tell, the way the Cricut cut, it tries to put the words all in the same corner to save your vinyl. However, that might not work out. I should have gone into a feature that position leaves the always in the position I had set it, but I didn't do that, so I had to play around with it. And there we go. We have all our vinyl pieces. Oh, something I forgot to mention: when you're working with heat transfer vinyl, before I go on, that I had to cut it out and that I positioned it in the right place I want it to be. When you're working with heat transfer vinyl, you position the shiny side to the bottom when you're cutting it. And there is my easy press that I had to invest in. And the first thing was to just iron the surface where you're going to put it, because if you don't do that, sometimes there's a little moisture left in the fabric and it might affect how strong it adheres. And I'm using a mat at the bottom. That's not the Cricut brand. I used a generic brand which still serves the purpose. You can accept they are not the cheapest, so anything can work, even a towel can do. And I'm folding a middle line there to help me with positioning it, to know the exact middle position of the t-shirt. And I did it at the back. So there we go, and you try to measure or position it about 3 inches from the mid of the neck, the neckline. So I'll go ahead with my rule and just measure off 3 inches to determine where I would place the exact word where it should land. I've marked off that point with a fabric chalk, and you don't have to go into extra details. So I try to measure the words and try to find the middle ground, because yes, I can go an extra mile sometimes even when I don't have to go an extra mile. Yeah, I do everything, but because I make my own clothes, so I own a pens, a ruler, a measuring ruler, and chalk. So I position the word hope. So I had to cut away the orange, because had I just put it on straight away, it wouldn't have been positioned in the middle how I had wanted it. So I'm going to manually position it to where I think I'm happy to have it. So I started off with the word hope and ironed it on, then later on went to the orange, then also added the other feature. Let's show, because I would have said like, okay, let me iron them all together, but the orange wouldn't have fitted nicely underneath the press mat. I went ahead and put some greaseproof paper to protect actually also the fabric of the t-shirt, because while it's quite strong, it shouldn't burn it, but keeping a flat iron onto it for such a long time might just discolor it a little bit. So you go to the Cricut iron, what do they call it, the easy press settings. They tell you how long a t-shirt or probably cotton t-shirt should iron for. So I waited for it to get to 150 degrees Celsius. I'm using Celsius. And for 30 seconds, I hold it tight. I put some extra pressure, start off the button so it times down. And when I'm happy with it, I transfer to the other side. Try to make it faster. Probably it's not fast enough, but yeah, I try to make it faster. Yeah. So it did 30 seconds. As you notice, I had to lift it up to iron also the hope. Then I went ahead, added orange wherever I wanted it to go. I didn't take away the hope vinyl yet, so I'm going to work with that. Yeah, I had to make that one run very fast. And a hot release, I've decided to also iron the back, because when you iron the back, it helps with adhering it onto it. Just an extra, you can never overdo this. So as you can tell, it has all ironed properly onto it, and we are happy with it. Unfortunately, you can see that little gold above the edge. I made a mistake, and by the time I noticed, I'd already ironed it on. So now here I'm placing on the original word on top of the offset, and you try to play around with it to whatever you're happy with, and that's what I'm doing there. I'll go ahead and also cover the word always with the sheet that I removed from it, because we want to protect the words. We don't want them melting off. And then go over with the greaseproof paper still to protect our fabric and our t-shirt. So we shall do the same exact process as we've already done. There we've done it. It worked so fast because I had to skip that. And there we go. And sometimes you should be able to tell that it has gotten stuck by seeing the texture of the t-shirt underneath the vinyl. And there we go. We are taking it off. No worries, everything has worked well. From experience, when I used my flat iron, it was a nightmare to get together. And voila, we've got our words all glued onto the t-shirt. I actually like how fast it came together. It's beautiful. Hope always, and hope that reminds you to hope always. And that's our final t-shirt. I was happy with it, and I'm amazed by how fast it goes with an easy press. My first experience with the flat iron, it was a nightmare. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time. Bye.